armor. Maybe somebody brings a Surge of Blade Hold. Doesn't look like it though.
Looks like it's going to be Skullcaps, Tunics, Braveforge Bracers, and Refraction Bolters on both sides here.
Standard fare for Warriors. We'll see if these turn out to be tall or wide. I do think there is a bit of an argument to bring Courage of Blade Hold into this matchup. 2 points of armor against Dorinthea is really good. And, 2 free resources on your big turn also matters as well.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. They probably couldn't fit it into the 80. So that's probably why we're seeing this matchup. Unless they're more confident in their Tunic plays, maybe?
Yeah, could be more confident in the Tunic play. Could be in the mirror matchup. I'm sure you bring a lot of Steel Blade Shunts, depending on how many of those you manage to put into your 80. And Tunic is much better for that. Just having the Shunts slows the game down a little bit. Being able to pay for them off Tunic every few turns also helps you keep your hand very effectively.
Yep, exactly. So, all right, looks like that Dorinthea won the die roll, and Arsenal then passed.
It's not too surprising. You don't want to let your opponent filter their hand out in this matchup to come at you with
Ooh, a key note, though. Sorry, he actually missed his Tunic trigger. Let's see if that comes back to bite him.
Ooh, very interesting. Good call. I lost track of the dice. Ooh, we're seeing
Glint
Vanilla
to go
Gauntlet
again. Okay.
with the Glint. So no reprise, no free card, no free go again off that, I should say. Or sorry, the go again was free, but it still cost you the card out of your hand to play.
Yes.
Still 2 resources floating. Looks like they're going to swing again with that sword. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction with the armor already. Very interesting.
Only blocks it though. That was a nice. It keeps that Dory off of reprise. I do like that, especially if he's thinking about blowing up those bolters now. He would have gotten the full value out of it.
That is very true. That being said, if we see such an early use on bolters, I would be surprised, and it would be, I would say, a big gamble that the next hand you're drawing into, because you don't know what that is this early in the game, is going to be explosive and allow you to keep that pressure up once you have that counter.
Correct. He doesn't currently have go again though, so we'll see what's coming in here. He's coming in for 6, which is pretty good.
And it looks like he's pitched a yellow Warrior's Valor, which may be an indication that this is more of a tall deck than a wide deck.
Here comes a Shunt.
Red Shunt from Arsenal. Deciding how to pay for it here, it looks like.
Ooh, pitching a potion. Interesting.
So it looks like they haven't resolved that damage off of Shunt quite yet. Oh, there are the bolters. Very bold move. And is that a red Iron Song that's being pitched?
Swing it again. Looks like he's going aggressively hard. Here comes a block.
This is an extraordinarily aggressive play.
Keynote again. I don't know if maybe they are talking and he's telling him that he has 2 counters on his Tunic, but he's also missed it again if not.
That is true. And they also missed the damage off that Shunt as well. Because he took 3 from the Sword Swing last turn. He should have taken a 4th point from the Shunt this turn. But they may just be thinking too hard about what's going on their turns here. And what their game plan is. Because there's no shortage of things to keep track of in this match.
They are actually moving extremely quickly. You definitely don't want to see a draw.
Yeah, although I'd be surprised if we saw a draw in a mirror match with 2 aggressive decks like this.
Yeah.
Especially if they're playing aggressive enough to blow up bolters on turn 2.
It definitely seems reckless, but we'll see if it pays off for him. He's missed his tunic again, so I don't know what his
Unless
play is here.
is he? No, he wouldn't be representing it with those dice at the side, right? The one that's
Don't
currently on 2.
I don't believe so. So he's getting a go again, but now he's fully blocking with a sink below, which is an excellent play. It forces another attack reaction, which there it is.
So it looks like we're going to be seeing the second sword swing come in here.
And a pump from the bracers as well. I do like that a lot. So now it's coming in for 4.
He's still got 1 card to pitch and 1 to play out of the arsenal. Or maybe play them both, depending on what they are.
Yeah. Looks like he's just elected to take the hit there. Ooh.
Very interesting. You must have something exciting to pull out on this turn. Presumably, it's not a defense react in the arsenal, otherwise we've seen it come out against the glint earlier.
Yeah, so it looks
This
like it's a 1 resource floating. He's coming in for 6 with his Dawn Blade.
Classic Warriors Valor play. 1 floating, 1 in hand, 1 in arsenal. This is where you want to be if you're attacking as a warrior.
Oh. Coming out of the arsenal there is a blue shunt. Looks like it's from the tunic. Maybe he was counting the tunic on the side. There is a dice there.
Oh, that is a good point. Slightly hidden.
I guess he didn't want to cover it, maybe?
I mean, it's beautiful artwork. Why would you?
Yeah. Anyway, here comes a razor in response now.
Oh, some damage has gone through, it definitely looks like.
Looks like he's paying off the tunic to swing it a second time. Now is when the armor's going to come in to block it.
So very aggressive use from our player off the left here of their armor. I think that may pose a significant challenge come closer towards the end of the game, unless they're confident that they've just got a lot of defense reacts but haven't seen them in these first few turns. But it'll be interesting to see. Actually,
also, that Skullcap shouldn't have been able to block because he's actually at higher life.
It would have been able to block for the 1.
The 1.
Plus the bracer.
Oh, right, yes.
The 3. Yeah.
Actually, no, it shouldn't have been able to block for 1 because he already had the counter on it, no?
No, only our Dorinthea on the left has the counter. The Dorinthea on the right was doing the attacking.
Yes, and then the other one was blocking, but I'm pretty sure his Skullcap already had a counter on it.
Ooh, that is a very good point. That may be correct. But either way, we saw an easy 4 block here, 1 with a route, and the rest coming off the bolters, knowing that his opponent didn't really have any threats to pitch at him.
Right.
And here, Naked Dawnblade, 2 resources floating, 3 cards to play. Always a frightening thing to deal with. You know one of the glints is out. Oh, looks like
comes a razor.
Pushing some damage at this point, which not a bad thing to do, especially when you know your opponent is low on armor and doesn't have an arsenal.
Absolutely. So now he's coming in for 6. He still has a single resource. It looks like he's just going to take the 6. this point, he hasn't blocked anything. I think now is when it would be a good time to push for any sort of damage you can.
I mean, you do have a four card hand. There is no bolters though, which takes out a good portion of the threat of just that 4-card hand. But we don't know what's in there, so maybe there's something fantastically surprising. And I'm not sure if that tunic has 2 or 3.
I'm not sure either. It looks like here comes an E-strike. I'm imagining for 5, but it could also be 7 threatening route. Or sorry, not route. Laser.
So it looks like it was for 5 with go again.
Now here comes the
Now
Dawnblade
coming in for 3 damage. Maybe there's an attack react off of this. I think the scariest thing it could be here is a glint. Yeah.
So it's just going to be an arsenal. If it was the
glint with reprise, that would have been a challenging block. But I think you're more than happy to arsenal at that position, and know you'll have some more cards coming up later.
Looks like another raw Dawnblade swing with 2 resources floating, the same scenario as last turn. We
haven't seen very many huge threats so far this game. We haven't seen a Supremacy go by. We haven't seen Iron Song Determination. We've seen Routes and Red Warrior's Valor, but none of the your big flagship combos.
No. Oh yeah, here comes an Overpower.
And that's in red. So no reprise, so it's just for +4. Again, just looking to push that damage through.
That would be a 7 coming in. Walking 6 of it with a red shunt, it looks like, which will drop his opponent by 1 life.
Stroke of Foresight with the last resource, and he can choose if that card is going to... oh no, he can't, because that shunt came out of Arsenal. My apologies.
Yep.
So no reprise, just damage.
I'm just trying to get that extra card draw out for his end of turn, it looks like.
And so the difference between these two players, I think, became apparent here, because there was a very similar situation on turn 2.
Yes, I was going to say.
Our player on the left chose in that instance to destroy the boots, pitch the last card, and try to swing again when his opponent had 3 cards left. Whereas in this instance, push for an extra 3 damage, keep the boots as a threat for later, knowing that, between 3 cards, you can definitely block an empty sword swing.
And here he comes with a hit and run into the Dawnblade. So it'll be a go again for sure, but with 2 resources floating. We're just thinking what to block with now. There it is. It looks like he elects to block for 3. His Steelblade Supremacy.
So that'll cover it all. And then
will also drop his opponent's life by 1.
We haven't seen very many wide things, or very many wide elements coming out of our player on the right here. We've seen Enlightened Strike and plenty of hit and runs coming from the left, but from the right it seems to be a much taller setup.
Oh, but there it is. Flock of the Featherwalkers. Coming in, making that quicken token.
Revealing Steelblade Supremacy. So that's a big setup next turn. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw some heavy armor blocks coming out when we're when you're looking to play defensive, when you have that Quicken token and that Steel Blade in arsenal. Very interesting choice of using the armor this turn when you know that there's something explosive going to be coming at you next turn with that Quicken and with that Steel Blade Supremacy.
Especially when Flock doesn't actually do anything on a hit. Interesting. Yep, that is a very neat strategy. We'll see what he's coming up with.
I think it. Oh, very interesting idea to block. And I was going to say maybe he did that just because he was confident that he could arsenal another red shunt and be able to block it anyways. But in this instance, 7 damage with Go Again could threaten to hit the sword. Taking the 7, it looks like he'll just block the second sword swing.
It'll be a 4.
With 4, yeah, with the armor.
Yep, there we go.
Respond in full with that big 5-card turn with Go Again and with that Steel Blade.
Yep, so here comes the Steel Blade, just as we thought. Here comes the Dawn Blade, just coming in for a 5. Get 5 with Go Again.
And if it hits, draw a card. So the combination of the unconditional Go Again and the draw on hit is quite frightening, because worst case scenario, that draw gives you the extra pitch for Brave Forge Bracers. Best case scenario, you get an attack react that can help you push an extra 3 damage to make sure you get that token.
Absolutely. And this late in the game, that's going to be huge. Oh, and he actually takes the whole shot there.
So the buff from Steel Blade Supremacy sticks around for the entire turn.
Yep.
And
Quicken token's gone.
Like he was hovering over the Brave Forge Bracers. I'm assuming he's used them.
I believe he did, because he threw the dice away for a moment and then shook the bracers, assuming that he's indicating that he's activating that. So it should be coming in for 6 now with 1 resource floating.
Which is frightening. No block.
Wow.
Perhaps the hope was to avoid the reprise and then put down a red shunt and hope, or...
Oh yeah, he just took it. He's down to 7.
This is very frightening.
What could he have in his hand there, Demos?
I mean, in this, I would say Iron Song Determination would be handy, but even then, it also wouldn't, because your opponent can afford to take the damage that happens with Dominate, and they already have a counter, so their response will be stronger than your attack will be.
Exactly. Okay, so he's using, it looks like he used the Tunic to pay to swing the sword. He's just coming in for 3 with Go Again.
So I'm not sure if there's a very specific plan in mind here, or if the thinking is more so it's one of those turns where you need to eat all of that damage just to hope to regain tempo back.
Potentially, yeah, I guess we'll see here.
But a sink below out of Arsenal isn't giving you too much chance to do so. Oh, Command and Conquer. That's not a bad play, but
it's less effective now.
Yeah, or you can take the damage and abuse the fact that they're not going to have a defense react in Arsenal on the turn where you're swinging with a sword with a counter on it.
Yep. It was an interesting play to not block and instead elect to try to come at him with a sword and a CNC.
I think the real difficulty there was the fact that he had to pitch 2 cards to play that CNC. the fact that those were reds instead of yellows or even a blue, which would have saved him the tunic counter, were quite expensive. So we're seeing Singing Steelblade get pitched here, which would otherwise, if you didn't have, if you had something else to pitch, would be a good thing to keep in your hand. So I'm thinking that's a fistful of reds.
It's either a fistful of reds or it's a double stinging hand.
It could be. That's another very good point. Because I think I've lost track of who has played what. We've seen a lot of the same cards go by on both sides. But it definitely could be, because I don't think we've seen any player play 2. So covering all 4. He is still lower, so that Skullcap does still have the 1. Surely there's some attack react that can push damage over in this instance within those 3 cards.
You would have to think so.
Especially in a deck that's looking to be this tall.
Yeah. That's pretty much all we've seen from him, too, is just tall Dory.
But no Twinning Blades, interestingly enough. Or maybe the Twinning Blade was decided that it wasn't. Ooh.
That may just...
Is there a shunt, I think is the question now. There is. Oh, and it's red. So that's
a 7.
Covering 7 of 10, which is, surviving, but it's not giving you much of a turn in response. And, you're going to have to deal with that counter again next turn.
Yeah.
Still has 2 points of armor, though, which may be the difference maker if he can survive one more turn and hope for something to draw into something excellent. But
yeah, I think this turn is going to have to be a pitch something, even just a bluff that he has some sort of attack reaction, because he's got to try and push through damage here.
Or his other possible out is to arsenal a shunt.
Yes, that too.
That may buy him, one more turn.
Yep.
Because it doesn't look like he's running Sink Belows.
Oh, it does not. We haven't seen any so far.
We haven't seen any so far from our warrior on the left, we should clarify.
Yes.
We've seen one come out from the right side.
So warrior on the left is Tamren, and warrior on the right is Jason.
Okay.
Just letting you guys know.
Thank you very much for that. We we can't see the names from our feed here. But yeah, it's looking like Jason is in very much the better position here. But pitching the Iron Song Determination, knowing that even if he were to play it, then maybe you get 1 damage through, but it's not enough to turn the tides of this battle.
Absolutely not, especially not without O again. So it looks like Jason is looking to thinking about what he's going to block with here, if anything. Just a raw Dawnblade coming in for 3.
Yeah, take it. Maybe throw some armor at it, but you're getting that 3rd tunic counter next turn, so
yep.
You're still letting it go through if you block with your bracers.
Yep, and then it's an arsenal and a pass.
Is being arsenaled. I think it's going to make a huge difference if that is a shunt or not.
Yes.
And we're now getting to the point where, if things are shunts is extremely relevant, because that's a quarter of your remaining health.
Yep, exactly. Oh, here comes a hit and run blue. Pitching a shunt. That's lethal coming in.
So it looks like a yellow shunt got pitched there. And I don't think we've seen any yellow shunts coming from Tamren. I think it looks like he's running 6 defense reacts in the blues and the reds, whereas we're looking at Jason having possibly 12 between all 3 colors of Shunt and that sink below we saw. There's that twinning blade. So that's enough to get through, to enjoy that go again. And swing again with that 1 resource off that yellow Shunt.
Yep, and now it's coming in for 4 again, which is still lethal. It looks like he is going to Shunt here for the 4.
Is there a react? No, that looks like it's going
Nope.
into Arsenal. Because that Shunt did come out of hand, so Reprise was on for maybe an Iron Song of some type. But 1 card, another Iron Song Determination for 4 damage with that blue Warrior's Valor.
Coming in for 4. At least he's threatening 4, so it's going to take an armor and a card from hand.
Which
potentially.
His Skull Cap is turned on, so now is probably a good time to use it, and 1 card out of hand. Or even better, Sink Below. Save yourself the effort.
Below.
Filter the hand, maybe find the blue that you need, or get rid of the extra blue that you didn't need.
It looks like that's going to be it there.
Yeah, so the counter is gone. Tamren's done a decent job of bringing this back from what looked like a very difficult scenario into something that's still certainly a challenge, but definitely doable at this
point. Especially low life, too. If you can catch him with even a point or 2 of damage and then just come out with a Shunt, can end things for either guy right now.
I think Tamren's really, really low on Shunts at this point. Maybe there's 1 or 2 left in the deck, but under the assumption that there was only 6 to start with, I think we've definitely seen at least 4 of them.
I agree. I think there were 4 at least. Although he is pretty low on cards, so he could have been filtering them through. There's a chance that he does have 1.
That is definitely true. So the last Red Warrior's Valor coming out from Jason, the first 2 played earlier in the game, if memory serves.
I believe that's correct, yep.
A lot of thinking about how to block around this. Do you block with 9 cards out of your hand? Or with 9 block out of your hand? Maybe he's been caught short holding a potion of some type, and that's the best you can do. Because we have seen potions go through.
Yes, we have. And they were all pitched, so chances of people seeing them is actually getting high. Ooh. Oh, man.
Blocking 10.
10 block.
I'm not... Oh, I guess the 10th block was to work around the Singing Steelblade. A Remembrance at the end of this turn. Very interesting.
So it was something that couldn't actually block, so he needed to make sure that everything else was going to be able to keep him alive so that he could use that card.
Definitely. So Remembrance will help to get some quality threats back into his deck. Maybe something to complement that Iron Song Determination. But at the end of the day, it makes you wonder if Tamren's going to have time to play those threats that he's shuffling back in.
I agree, especially this late. Jason's going to be coming back with a 5-card hand this turn. 4 cards and 1 in Arsenal. That's going to be hard to come back from. So E-Strike is a card that could do it.
I like the addition of Sharpened Steel. If Sharpened Steel and Iron Song Determination is a 1 resource, you only need to pay 1 resource to play those plus your sword for 7 damage dominated, is very, very good at this point where you know your opponent's on 3 life. Jason does still have 3 points of armor standing there though, which is quite frightening. Spoils of War. into the Dawnblade. 5
That's
damage.
coming in for 5. Yep.
I think we might see a Singing Steel Blade or a Rout or an Overpower, because he definitely has the resources to pay for that, and that would definitely be a way of closing this game out.
I think if he's holding the route, or if he's holding a Singing Steel Blade into anything, really. Oh man, that's a tough block. Like he's blocking 9.
It's 9. Singing Steel Blade into Rout or just Rout would be enough. Oh, Stroke of Foresight, interesting. Filtering
8.
out a hand in an otherwise small deck.
Very nice play by Jason.
Even though he's nominally out of resources, he does still have a card to pitch, a card to play, and what's floating on the Tunic.
And there we go.
And there's no Tunic to pay for a Shunt. So there's enough resources to... So Out for Blood Reprise was triggered, so that's +1. Brave Forge Bracers are coming in. That's another +1. This is for 5. And that's exactly
he can only
what he
block
needed.
3.
I think it was a very good game. The Warrior matchup was interesting. It wasn't a perfect mirror. We saw a something wider versus something taller, and overall very interestingly played. We saw some very early aggression coming from Tamren in the form of breaking those bolters, and it didn't give him the tempo that he needed to keep pushing through.